welcome to today's second channel video. Isn't the quality like much nicer than usual? I filmed a video today, like a real video for my main channel, so like the mic is set up and there's like a light behind you. I'm gonna be like bopping in and out of focus though because of this is a new lens and the aperture set at 1.8, so like the depth of field is really shallow. Hope that doesn't bug you. Anyway, so this is going to be a video response to a conversation started by Dan Brown and Ariel Scarcella. They were talking about trans etiquette, whether or not it was transphobic to not want to date a trans person for whatever reason, and whether or not it was awkward or strange for a trans person to introduce themselves with their pronouns, like right away, right when they meet you. Like, hi, my name's Ashley, she, her, them, they pronouns, please. And by the way, hi everyone, my name's Ashley, she, her, them, they pronouns, please. So yeah, and I'm not gonna like deconstruct the video or talk very much about like why the video was wrong or how some of the ways of thinking were, in my opinion, problematic, because a lot of other people have already done that. I don't want to waste your time. So what I want to do is talk about my perspective and my experiences being a good ally. And I think that will be like a new perspective on the conversation, and like it will take this conversation in a new direction that hasn't already been like talked to death. Because if you want to listen to why some of the things Dan and Ariel said could be interpreted as problematic, a great video response to watch is Milo's, and I'll put the link in the description. I'll put all the links to all these videos in the description, but I'm just going to talk about how to be a good ally. So Dan Brown, hi, by the way, I've been watching your stuff since 2010. I think you're really, for the most part, smart and cool dude. I'm not somebody who has, like, just come to your channel for the first time because of this video and doesn't know you and, like, has an opinion about this one video. I've been somebody who's been, like, around for years. I totally know who you are. I saw you on the big screen, and please subscribe. There's a lot of, like, there's a lot of context. I know who you are, bigger than this one video. So hopefully that makes you feel, I don't know, good or safe or something. Like, it's not just someone who's just like, hey, I see this one sort of transphobic video and I'm gonna yell at you. No, like, I've been watching you for a long time. Anyway, bloop bloop. Okay, so Dan, you are a cis person who wanted to make a video about non-binary issues. I am a mostly cis person who also wanted to make a video about non-binary issues. But the way we went about it is very different, and that's kind of what I want to talk about as far as like how to be a good ally goes. So if you want to be a good ally, there's like a few rules that you have to follow, whether or not you like it. And one of those rules is that you should be really educated before you talk about a community or an identity that doesn't belong to you. Also, if you want to talk about a community or an identity that doesn't belong to you, you should invite somebody from that community or with that identity. Those are just some rules, and maybe you don't like the rules, and no one's making you follow the rules because we live in America and like, you know, everyone has freedom and etc. But those are some like unwritten rules that exist. And people don't like being told what to do, so like hopefully, I don't know, I can just imagine maybe you're resistant and you're like, what are these rules? Why don't I know them? But they're just and they're not real rules, they're unwritten rules, they're kind of just floating around in the internet ether and on Tumblr, and if you get to like talking to people, you kind of just figure them out, and the more you learn about different communities, the more you just pick up these rules. And if you want to argue with me and say they're not rules, that's fine, because like, I'm just like, these are rules are kind of my opinion. But yeah. And basically, so like I said, the rules are, if you want to talk about, I mean, there's lots of rules, but the two I want to talk about are, if you want to talk about an identity or a community that doesn't belong to you, you should be really educated before you do it. Otherwise, you're going to make some mistakes, and those mistakes are going to be hurtful. They're going to cut deep, because you're going to be talking about people's identities. That would be like if I were to, like, examine your gender, and I would be like, Dan, you're not a man. You're way, like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to be offensive, but, like, you're way too effeminate to be a dude. You're not. Like, see how, like, that could be very offensive? You're like, don't tell me about my identity. I'm very strong in my identity. I don't know, as soon as you start passing judgment about who someone is, like, you better be ready that people are gonna be touchy about it. Because you couldn't be talking about something more personal. Like, identity, who somebody is as personal as it gets. So that's why you should be really educated before you talk about these things. And I bet if you had done some like extensive research before you would have made that video, your video would have looked very different. And hopefully would have had a more positive response. So that's rule number one. And then rule number 2 is, like I said, you should invite somebody. If you're going to be talking about an identity or a community that doesn't belong to you, you should invite somebody from that identity or community. So, you are a mostly cis person who wanted to make a video about non-binary identities. And so you invited Ariel, and that's what I think. I think you were trying to follow rule number 2, inviting somebody from that community, because you ID'd Ariel's like, I'm totally judging, I'm just being presumptuous as like a motherfucker right now. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think, like, your train of thought might have been like, oh, like Ariel, she is like a member of the LGBT community. I'm going to invite Ariel. That way it's not just like a straight cis guy talking about queer things. I'm going to invite someone queer. So, like, there we go. But actually, and if those were your intentions, then you had good intentions. But as we all know, impact is different than intent. So even though you had good intentions, you didn't like execute it properly, because Ariel isn't trans or non-binary at all. She's about as cis as it gets, from what I've gathered from like hanging out with her and talking to her and watching her videos. So like Ariel's strictly a lesbian. So she doesn't have that first-hand perspective of being trans or non-binary or gender fluid or genderqueer or notoire, etc. So she's not really going to actually bring that perspective from the community that is like needed in order to make a video about this kinds of things. So yeah. Oh, and then, so you know how I say that there's these rules about to be a good ally? Like, obviously you don't need to follow these rules, like I said. Nobody's like gonna come to your house and arrest you if you don't follow these rules, but then you won't be a good ally. And you really can't have it both ways. You can't just do whatever you want, or you know, break the unwritten rules and be a good ally. You just can't have it both ways. So yeah, so like, if being a good ally is important to you, you should, like, I don't know, learn the etiquette of being a good ally and then, like, act accordingly. And if being a good ally isn't important to you, then I guess do whatever you want. You're gonna make a lot of people angry, though, and you're gonna, like, hurt a lot of people. And people are gonna call you harmful, because when you are invalidating people's identities, it's gonna be hurtful and harmful, and that has serious consequences on, you know, people's sense of self and things like that. So yeah. So anyway, but so bloop 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 bloop. Oh, like I said, like I think 3 times already in this video, this channel is so unscripted. I'm so sorry if you're actually watching this damn round, because it's gonna be like 20 minutes long. But you're a cis person who wanted to make a video about non-binary issues. I am a mostly cis person who wanted to make a video about non-binary issues. And so what I did was I invited, I think, at least 10 non-binary YouTubers to help me make like a giant comprehensive guide to gender. So me and 10 non-binary people worked together in order to make this huge comprehensive video all about gender. And I acted as the moderator in that video. We defined a ton of terms like two-spirit, third gender, tri-gender, bi-gender, notoire, gender variant, blah, 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 blah. So many gender terms, and we defined them. I didn't define a single word, because none of those identities belonged to me, and it wasn't really my place. And there's a good chance, if I haven't spent my entire life, like, examining that identity, like people who do hold that identity do, I'm probably gonna make a mistake when defining that, and I sure don't want to, like, pass on, like, incorrect information. So I had the 10 people I was working with do that while I moderated the video, and then I used my platform, my YouTube channel. I think I had like 160,000 subscribers at that time, and that's the good thing I brought to it. I brought I gave these people, I like brought these people up to a platform that had a larger audience. Like, I raised their voices, and raising voices is kind of how you be a good ally. And then I met Milo the exact same way that you met Milo. Milo watched my video and had some critiques and came to me, and he was so sweet. He came to me in a much more friendly way than perhaps he came to you, because I did invite a lot of non-binary people to, like, work. And I tried to do a lot of education before. So he had less critiques for me, although he did have a lot of great critiques. And he so he says, like, oh my gosh, I really liked your video. I think it's really cool that you're having this conversation. And then here's a massive list of critiques that I have. And then what I did, and this is what I think another good, like, if you're a good ally, This is another one of those rules. If you do make mistakes, it's really important to call yourself out and apologize. So what I did was I made an entire video. Actually, it's not even a video now. It's a series. It's called, because I have a series called the ABCs of LGBT where I define a ton of like under and misrepresented terms. And then I have the ABCs of LGBT Oops edition where I cover mistakes I've made. Because, did you make a sound, computer? No. Because when you're going to be advocating or educating about a diverse array of identities, it is almost inevitable that you are going to make mistakes. It's just going to happen. And if you make a mistake, it doesn't mean you're a horrible person, but if you make a mistake and don't apologize, I mean, you're not a horrible person, but you're not a good ally. So what I did was I invited Milo to come onto my channel, and we made a I messed up video. And I said, hey everyone, my name is Ashley, and I like to advocate for things, but when you partake in advocacy, you make a lot of mistakes. So here's Milo. He had a lot of critiques for me. And then I gave Milo my YouTube channel, and my platform, my audience's time, to him to, accurately educate. And it was really good, and the response I got was incredibly positive. I got a lot of I gained so much more respect for you for calling yourself out on your mistakes, blah, 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 blah. It's allowed me to feel really safe in continuing, because I'm making an asexual and aromantic comprehensive video right now, and that is a community I absolutely don't belong to at all. But I feel safe enough in order to continue. And when I say safe, I don't mean literally safe, just I feel like people are going to be accepting if I do make a few mistakes. And I'm working with 12 people right now with that. It's just blah. It's a lot. Being a good ally, Dan Brown, is a lot of hard work. It's not easy. No one is saying it's going to be easy. It's a lot of hard work. You have to do a lot of research before. You have to do a lot of research before you talk about identities that don't belong to you. You have to invite a lot of people that you might not have even never known before. Maybe you're going to say, I don't know any trans people. I couldn't make a collab because I don't know trans people. Guess what? I did not know half the amount of non-binary people I did before I made my gender video. Because you gotta look for them. Because they're underrepresented. That's why it's hard to find them, because they're underrepresented. So solve that problem and give them more representation. Bloop, 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 bloop. So yeah. Is there anything else I have to say? I don't edit these videos, so I'm trying to think really fast. Being a good ally is just a lot of hard work. You have to do a lot of education. You have to meet a lot of people you don't even know. You have to find them, invite them. You have to give them your platform, which involves a lot of faith, just to hand over your YouTube channel and be like, hey, you should make a video because I sure don't know what I'm talking about. But if you want to talk about these things and be a good ally, that's just what you have to do. And it's hard. And if you mess up, you have to apologize. And you have to say, hey, I'm just a person, and advocating is tricky business. It's super complex. There's so many complexities and nuances to people's identities that I don't know about and make mistakes when talking about. So yeah, it's being a good ally is really hard work. It's really, you have to have a lot of humility. And yeah, so that's just how you be a good ally, I guess. There's a lot of other things. And then my last thing is another rule for being a good ally is always calling yourself out if you do mess up and apologizing, but then changing your actions and your behaviors accordingly as you go on through the future. Because Dan Brown, you sparked a lot of conversation about trans issues, a conversation that a lot of people wouldn't be having if your video did not exist. So your video had a lot of flaws, but it sparked a huge conversation that wouldn't be happening if your video didn't happen. So maybe you're saying, but hey, look at that. If my video didn't happen, people wouldn't be talking and people wouldn't be learning. And people learned a lot from your video, from going on to your video, to Milo's video, maybe to this video, a ton of the other video responsive. Just the entire conversation had a lot of truth and a lot of good education, and it all sparked from your video. So there was a lot of good things that came from your video, but there was also a lot of bad things. I can imagine a lot of the things that you say could actually cause a kid who's questioning their gender at home to feel a stab of dysphoria, just to ooh, cis people think it's weird when I do that. I didn't know that. I thought that was okay to use my pronouns. It's just people don't like totally understand my pronouns, and it just makes me feel good and safe to like say my pronouns. I didn't know, like, you could have just you could have made like just anyone who's non-binary and not totally sure of their identity and feel incredibly like othered and like ostracized and just bad. So a lot of good things came from your video, but like honestly, so did a lot of not so good things. And in order to be the best ally you can, because no one's trying to discredit your video. Nobody is trying to say that nothing good came from your video. No one's saying that. We're just saying that some good stuff came from your video, but so did a lot of bad stuff. In a perfect world, and in a world where you're the best ally you can be, only good stuff would come from your video. And that's all people are asking. So maybe next time you want to talk about trans things, because you'll notice that I barely talked about trans things, because it's just me and my cat. Just me and my cat, and not a trans person. So rather than talk about trans issues and pick apart why some of the things you said were problematic, I'm talking about how to be a good ally, because an ally, a trans ally and a non-binary ally, is something that I do identify as. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Sorry. And sometimes it's so hard because, like, I don't know, things like the things you said were harmful and the things you said were hurtful, they can feel really loaded and really attacky, and you have to remember, like I said, I've been a fan of you since 2010. I think you're a good guy. I'm not saying you're a bad guy. I'm just saying I want you to be an awesome ally, because I think you'll make a lot of cool friends and do a lot of good. You're so smart. You're so smart, dude. I don't know, just altering some of your tactics a little bit could really cause you to make some awesome future content about these subjects, and I really encourage you to. I don't ever want to shut you up about these things. I never want to look at you and say, you're cis, you're straight, don't talk about these things. Psh, psh, not your place. I want to say, talk about these things, but learn how to do it in the right way. And if you ever have questions, this is another rule. If you ever have questions, if you're ever wondering about something, chances are you don't know about it, and you should ask somebody from that community. So, for example, I'm working on an ace and aro, like giant asexuality and aromantic video soon. So I had two writing consultants. I asked somebody from like asexuality awareness, like a ton of questions before I finished my script. And then I'm probably gonna show my video to either Milo or my friend Aiceland after I'm finished and be like, hey, I have a question for you. Do you see anything wrong with this? And then I'll edit it accordingly. Ask questions. And if you ask a question that's offensive, I'm not gonna say that's okay, but like it happens, and you'll just say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. I'm gonna change my behavior for the future. You're on the precipice of being a really good ally. I believe in you. You can, I sound so patronizing. You can do it, but you really can. Because I know what a smart guy you are. And I just want you to be the best ally you can be. And I want you to be lifting up non-binary people as far as representation goes and as far as like self-image goes. And I don't want you to be tearing them down, and I know you can do it. Meow. You did not watch this, by the way. I'm sure, because it's like way past the conversation. It's so long, it's so like tangential, but if you did watch this, thank you. Bye, everybody. Did you watch this series of videos, by the way? Oh, comment meow meow if you made it all the way to the end. I'll be so impressed. Comment meow meow if you made it this far. This is the longest video I've done in like months. Okay, bye.